Thanks for joining us back for another episode of the Real Health Podcast. I'm joined by some friends, obviously patients in the office, but friends. And so, Mary, David, thanks so much for coming on to today's episode and joining us.
Thank you for having us on.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, you guys are friends of mine, and we share a lot of mutual interests. But today, really, the point of this next few weeks series that we're doing is just get patients' perspective on their health journey and what are some kind of staples that you're doing in your life that are that can share wisdom with our listeners. You know, we have people all over the world that listen in, and there are people that are heavy into training, light into their training, early on in their health journey, or have been doing it for years. And so I know you guys are both, your passion is running. Mm-hmm. Agreed? Mm-hmm. So we'll dive into that because I'd love to have a conversation with that. But let's talk a little bit about just health in general. When did you, either one of you, when did you guys start your health journey? So we'll start with you, David, and then Mary. When did you start your health journey, thinking about health differently in terms of fitness, nutrition, lifestyle, sleep, integration of chiropractic care? Talk to me a little bit about that.
I was kind of always into fitness, even in high school, but it was more of like strength training.
Okay.
But I didn't really start running and training like I am now till like 2015. Just some changes in my life, and I felt that it was time to make a change. And when I started introducing a little bit of running into my life, I just realized the relaxing part of it as far as meditation and just trying to be able to work through things in your mind and just being at peace. So, running has just kind of like become my thing. But along with that, I learned that, with running, there's a lot of impact and there's a lot of other things that happen. So I started introducing yoga into my life as far as like trying to figure that out, and come across with Mary. Mary became my coach. And then interesting, in 2023, at the beginning of the year, I had went through this stint of just race after race after race in 2022, and ended up in Rhabdo in January, and I could not get rid of this lingering hip issue, which you're very aware of.
I am.
And Mary recommended that I come see you. She spoke very highly of you, and I had already went to a different chiropractor before I started coming to see you, and it was just a world of a difference. Just the first couple of visits coming in here, the difference in care that helped with actually feeling like you were trying to help me work through the problems and helping me understand what had broke down. So that was really eye-opening for me, and it's one of the reasons that I still come in here weekly. I just love the attention, love the fact that you're actually trying to help me improve not only my lifestyle, but also running in general, like trying to be healthier and do it in a proper way and keep form and, stay the way that my body should, and just feel completely different now compared to the beginning of 2023.
That's so cool. And just to put it in perspective, when we talk about these guys loving running, they're not casual runners. They are elite runners. You guys are elite runners, and they're running distances over 100 miles. We were just talking about before the show started, elevation. Mary, you're about to run a race that has over 33,000 feet of elevation gain, which is right. Incredible. So that's awesome. And just to speak to that real quick before we get to you, Mary, is I think it's so important to find people in your corner that's willing to help you work through your tough season. We have a saying in the office, we want to suffer strong and age well. And so, because we're all going to have suffering, we're all going to have problems. And are we willing to work through it versus always coming to a problem, stopping, and seemingly like we just never pick back up? I don't think, and Mary, you do a really good job of this with your coaching, is when people are going through hard times, whether they're not feeling great, they're ill, it's not even so much, at times you need to stop, but a lot of times you're like, hey, let's just keep moving. And a lot of times as you move through it, you actually heal through it. You don't heal necessarily just stopping the activity. Sometimes it's right, but for the most part, we like to talk about we are going to work through your pain, not to your pain. and we don't want to just keep stopping every time there's something that shows up. So, Mary, your health journey is really incredible. Like, and we can go even further back, but you started running all the way back in high school.
Middle school.
So,
yeah, I started running as a child, and I ran all the way through high school and into college. I was a collegiate track and cross-country athlete, and then ran here in Knoxville when I moved here after college when I was in graduate school and working. And then I just fell into this crazy world of ultra marathoning, which is anything over a marathon distance. And during that time, I became a coach. That's actually when I met you years ago. And I personally was one of those people that thought, I don't ever need to go see a chiropractor. And also, I'll say this, I'm a cancer survivor, and I'm a brain cancer survivor. And as part of my work with you, you've really helped me with my central nervous system as well. But back to my skepticism. Initially, I just thought I would never need to see a chiropractor. I didn't have any major injuries. What would be the point? And one day I ran into you, and you were like, just come for a visit. Just let me just see you.
Yeah.
And we'll just go from there.
Yeah.
There's no pressure.
That's right.
And I never looked back. I've been a patient. We looked it up because I'd forgotten since 2016. And my favorite part about being a patient of yours is if you come consistently, like, I run about 3,000 miles a year, and I don't really get hurt. I have nothing that really hurts because we kind of stay ahead of things. Yeah. So if there's something that's out of balance, we kind of work through it, just like you were saying. Like, if I have an instability somewhere that's going to probably down the road show up as an injury, we don't ever get there. We fix it before it becomes that. And so to me also, the benefit that you've given me is you sort of teach me how to do that on my own, how to almost like self-diagnose, like, oh, well, I know if I'm feeling this, it's probably because my glute is tight. It's not it's not always what you think it is. And you've taught me so much about how to manage this stuff on my own. And that's a skill and a gift I give to my athletes as a coach. So, yeah, it's been life-changing for me, for sure. So,
yeah. I'd say that's true, even the way you, obviously being an athlete of yours,
yeah, I coach you.
You do. So even thinking that through your programming, which is really well done, I also think that it's great, like, credit to, chiropractic care and sleep and nutrition and fueling properly. All of those modalities help prevent injury. But also just the sheer amount of volume in training, how much is the right amount of stimulus to get the result versus, just running a ton of mileage and hoping for the best. So you do a really good job with, in essence, doing the most with the least, right?
Exactly. That's
and
the
then
goal.
And then by the time I show up to some event, I'm like, wow, I am pretty fit. Let's go,
Yeah, exactly.
But you don't feel like that because you don't feel like you're sometimes doing enough. But it just goes to show you that as long as you're doing something and you're consistent and you're building over time, that progressive overload, you are getting healthier and fitter. You are a brain cancer survivor. And did you, so going off that too, I wanted to ask you, because we didn't really talk about it, how much did running play a role in that season of life for you?
It was still a part of my life. I went to receive treatment at Duke, and I was there for, well over, it was almost 2 years. I was going back and forth basically every other week, and I would still go out and try to run, even if it was a mile. There's a trail in Durham called the American Tobacco Trail, and I would just go out and shuffle along. It gave me a sense of normalcy. So, I also think it just moving my body was still one of the things that I needed, whether from a physical standpoint, it was probably mostly mental, but it helped me, feel like I wasn't just a cancer patient.
Yeah,
so.
That's good. David, for you, listeners who hate running, because, right, you hear that. It's like, oh, I just hate running. And I feel like sometimes the reason why people hate working out or running or doing something new is because it's daunting. And sometimes you just think you're fitter or faster than you actually are. But when you slow down and you just take it piecemeal, you actually find out, I don't mind running. It's not that bad. So for you, just to communicate to our listeners, why do you run? Like, why running in your world?
Well, I used running in the beginning to help get through things, and that was, 2015 was a hard year. I was going through a divorce. I'd never really ran much, and I lifted weights all the time. So I was that guy that just lifted weights. I was the least flexible person you probably would know. But I started running and ran completely wrong. Like, I would go out and run 2 miles as hard as I could every day, and it was just the wrong thing to do. And I did not enjoy running. Yeah. But like you just said, it's the slowing down and actually enjoying the run. You don't have to run hard every time you run.
That's right.
It's as easy as you want it to be. And then you start to find joy in that. And when you find the joy in that, it helps you to find out, like, as I'm running, I just can work through so many things in my head, and I'm just like at peace and, just working through things. And that has been the most beneficial thing to me, because anybody that's around me for 30 minutes knows I have ADHD 128%. But it's one of those where it just kind of mellows me out. It brings me down. I have time to focus and, just do my thing. And I will just get lost in the woods for hours sometimes. And to me, that's the most beautiful thing, is just to have time with yourself. And you learn so much about yourself that way.
Yeah. It's funny because, again, you talk to most people who have never run, and they feel that. They feel that, like, exhaustion in running in just the first 5 steps. And I experienced that when I started doing some triathlons and I start swimming, and I realized, why do I hate swimming? So I was so out of breath, but then I realized I'm swimming way too fast. And of course I'm out of breath because it's like a sprint. And so I learned how to actually slow down and pretty much float slowly. And then I found, hey, wow, I just swam half a mile. That wasn't bad at all. So Mary, if there are some people that are very new to running and they feel that like, oh, I just hate it because I'm so slow or whatever. How do you speak to those people, like, that may want to experience the joy of being outside and moving their body, but feel like running is so daunting?
Well, typically where I start with folks who are just starting is just run walking. Walking is actually one of the best things that you can do first, and then you can add a minute of running into the middle of your walking. He's just getting over an injury, and this guy who has run multiple 100-milers, we just started back with a run walk. Nobody's above it, and I think it's the best way to start. But like I said, walking alone is actually great exercise, and then if you can just scatter in a minute here of running, a minute here, and just do that at a conversational pace. That would be the second thing I would say. If you can talk while you're running, that's probably a really good, easy pace for you. And even very seasoned runners still don't always know what an easy pace is. Yeah. And so if you can talk, we're probably in a good, easy pace. So
I was watching some training of these Kenyans, and they're elite, best in the world runners. And they're true, like, flush runs where they just they just flush out their morning, like, hard interval sessions or whatever they did, is like 12-minute per mile paces.
Exactly.
Where they're typically running,
4 minutes,
4 to 5 minutes for a couple hours, right. And they're 3 times that, and it just goes to show you sometimes we just aren't running slow enough, especially on those easy days, recovery days, like you said. Even the most elite runners, they still have this instinct of, I got to get it done. I got to run fast, which I have a hard time personally working through as well. So, David, for you, what other modalities in your life? We call them pillars. Like, there's a pillar of sleep, a pillar of nutrition, a pillar of movement. What other pillar have you worked on recently that's been newer for you, that you've adopted, that has helped you in your overall health journey, and whether it's running specific and just life in general? What other health pillar have you recently been, like, investing more in?
Well, I think it's 2 things.
Okay.
I really fell off of strength training.
Yeah.
When I started running more, so that became an issue. I think that's what led to some of my injuries I was getting. A lot of people will just run, and we don't strength train. And when you're not strength training, if you're trying to run long distances, in the end, that's going to hurt you because your muscles are breaking down over 100, 200, 300 miles. But at the same time, the other piece, honestly, is chiropractic. Like, that's still kind of new to me. I've been doing it for 2 years now, but that has been so much different because just being able to come in here and work through things instead of trying to figure them out on my own.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I would just keep running, and because we all have that mentality that we're going to figure it out, we're going to fix it.
Yep.
When we have no idea what we're doing. But just being in here and learning, and I guess the biggest thing that I've enjoyed with you so far is that you don't ever tell me to quit running unless it's something major. You're, like you said in the beginning, we're working through this, so I continue to train, and Mary continues to work with my program, even though I may have something going on, because we are correcting it in the moment, like as we're going through it. And that has really been a game changer for me as far as just overall pain-free now. I don't run with a hip issue. The only issue I have is obviously I hurt my foot in my last race.
Sure.
And we're working through that. But those major things are gone. And I attribute to that to, chiropractic, strength training.
Yeah.
And also, the bigger thing too is that I fell off of doing yoga. I got to the point where I was literally just running. And life has to be a balance if you're going to try to do that. If you go all in on one thing, and you see it a lot with people that just start running, and that's what we were talking about, is like they go all in, and they're going to run 6-minute miles for 3 days straight. Well, they run one day and they hate running. And, it just has to be a balance. And that's the things that I'm still working on. I'm still trying to make sure I strength train every week. I do yoga every week. And I'm still failing at that.
Yeah, that's good. I think we can get myopic in any area that we're passionate about. Passion typically breeds myopia when we just get narrowly focused on a singular task and goal, and then we neglect other areas of our life. But wisdom is gained over time, and a more seasoned athlete is usually one that is balanced in all the areas of their life. And that's just a time thing too, right? Like, people look at my healthy lifestyle and they try to compare, but I'm like, hey, I've been doing this for 20 years. For 20 years, I've been intentionally dialing in nutrition and sleep and chiropractic care and fitness and everything. So it just becomes a little easier. Go ahead.
Yeah, and on the nutrition part, like, I would tell you there's some fascinating thing, but I basically eat everything I want. Like, there is, like, whether it's donuts, Reese cups, it doesn't matter because
you can't hear that.
That sounds so good.
Yeah,
I dream about it.
But
I think about it all the time.
That's the thing with running, 50 to 100 miles a week is like you've got to fuel, and sometimes it is sugar, So that's the thing. But I will say on a nutrition part, I will say the one thing Mary has helped me with a lot is focusing on, I don't track hardly calories or anything because I just eat a lot, but I track protein, and I try to hit 200 grams every day. That has been a significant change in soreness and recovery, and I used to never do that, so I owe that to her, and I really track that every day.
And that's true for any listener. Like, if you're looking at changing nutrition, one of the most important things is prioritizing protein. Protein is so satiating that even if you're on this health journey, you're trying to lose weight or stabilize blood sugar, protein, you can't overeat protein. It is so hard to think about eating 150 to 200 grams of protein a day. It's difficult. So that's great. So good. So much truth there. So Mary, you've had you've established some pillars through the years. What would you say are a couple pillars that you really think about and are intentional about in your health journey?
So for me, I have to strength train as well. I just feel like as I'm older, I'm almost 45 years old. I'm not a kid. And so to continue to race these distances, if I didn't lift, my body would break down. And I feel like it is a piece of what I do that keeps me resilient. the one thing that I really struggle with that is a pillar, but that I fail at, that I definitely am still working on, is my sleep. And, it's something that I know as a person who battled, brain cancer. There are things about my life that are challenging if I don't get enough sleep. And so that's the thing I'm still working on. It's a work in progress for sure. And I know it would do me so much good to get more of it. But it's something I am trying to really get a handle on for sure. So.
Most of your newer clients that start with you, newer in terms of running, training, where do you see, what are the big weaknesses that you typically, what's the pattern of weakness?
So the thing I see most with folks who are just starting is, to be honest, there's this big imposter syndrome feeling that a lot of these new runners, they feel like they're not qualified to call themselves a runner. And so that piece of it is huge, is just talking through that with them. If you're running at all, you're a runner. There is no club that you have to join. There's no
medal you have to earn.
Exactly. No, if you're running, you're a runner. And so even if that means starting with a run walk, like I said, and that conversation matters so much. And I have to have it with those folks pretty much every week until we get to the point that, the switch flips and they automatically, of can call themselves a runner finally.
That's good. That's so good. That's a mental shift. Yeah. I think for me, I'm a performer, so I feel like I have to achieve a certain something to then call myself that. And I do that in my work. I do that in my fitness. I do that in my relationships. I do that in my perspective, even with God. Just like, hey, if I do this, if I wake up and I pray and I do check these boxes, like, you're happy with me. And it's just, I definitely fall short in that category of just always thinking I have to be great at it in order to be called, it. But no, I am a son. I am a child of God. I am a runner. Even that's weird to say. So that's good. That's good language, because that language really helps adopt into your DNA, and then you become confident in who you are. So that's beautiful. So good. So our listeners, again, just wide variety of people. But most of them are just passionate about being healthy, and everyone's in a different place. So any last messages for the listeners in terms of they are in this journey of healthy living, and whether it has to do with running or whether it has to do with another perspective of their health. Any last words of wisdom from either one of you to our listeners?
I would just say moving your body in general is really the key, but the piece of it that I think some people don't take to the next level is just doing it outside. I think there's such a benefit to being outside. That's one of the reasons I actually love running, is just being outside. And we can work out in gyms. We're on treadmills probably more than we want to be, when it's really cold, but if you can actually be outdoors, in the sunshine or in the woods, there's just a huge benefit. There's research that shows that, nature is so good for our brains. And that would be the piece that I would say, move your body for sure, but then try to do it outdoors if you can. So
I was running today right before the episode, and the sun was shining.
Yeah,
it was so cold, but it was so nice.
I know.
It was like the it's cold, but when that sun hits, it was so nice at the same time. So, Dave, what you got?
I would say don't do it alone. So that's that's one of the things that we learn in the running community, and I've seen it in other communities, especially like CrossFit as well. You don't do it alone. If you're if you're not if you've not found your community, or you've not found a place that you feel like you fit in, like, that's important. So volunteer, sign up for an event, sign up for a CrossFit event, sign up for a running event. You don't have to be a runner. You don't have to be a CrossFitter. Go see what that community is like and see if you enjoy it. And then if so, you might find your community. And we see that all the time in running, where people will volunteer for an event, know nothing about it, but immediately become part of our family and just they begin running. They start asking questions. Usually, they ask Mary questions.
Of course.
But that's the thing. It's like, don't be afraid. If you've got something you want to try, you don't have to try it. Go volunteer and see it and see the people, and you'll learn about the community then and see if you want to be a part of it.
Yeah, strength in numbers for sure. And I'll say, even to push that a little bit further, get coached. Coaching creates a different level of accountability. And for me, the best thing, and especially when I'm in these running seasons, the best thing I have is a coach in my corner. Mary, you are a huge gift, because I just get to show up and I look at it and I do it. Like, there's no other thought. There's no thought of like, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do it. So just to have it in front of me, okay, let's check the box today. And it's one less thought, because if I have to program it, there's more thought into, maybe I just switched up the programming today, and then that snowballs.
As a coach,
Coaches
have a coach.
get coached.
That's exactly. So I fully believe in that 100%.
Yeah, it's so good. Thanks for adding value to our people today. From you guys' perspective, it's so good. So truly, thank you for being here on today's episode.
Well, thanks for what you do.
Yeah. Yes, thank you for having us on, and thank you for being my chiropractor.
Absolutely. All right, thanks again for listening to another episode of the Real Health Podcast.